The silent arrival of the Galactic Council had ruled the stars for 3,000 years. Their massive space stations floated in the void like metal cities, watching over trade routes and keeping peace between hundreds of alien races. The Council believed they knew everything that moved through space. Their sensors could spot a single ship from light years away. Admiral Kex stood on the bridge of the Council's greatest warship, the Star Guard. His blue skin showed the stress marks that came with age and command. The ship was the size of a small moon, armed with weapons that could crack planets. Around him, dozens of different alien species worked at control panels, their various tentacles, claws, and appendages dancing over holographic displays. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Voss, a being with 4 eyes and gray skin. "Our deep space sensors are acting strange." Kex walked over to the sensor station. A massive display showed the usual traffic: merchant ships, patrol vessels, and communication drones moving along approved paths. Everything looked normal. "What kind of strange?" Kex asked. "Small gaps in our data. Tiny holes where readings should be. It's like something is there, but not there." Kex studied the display carefully. The Council's sensors were the best in the galaxy. They used quantum detection arrays that could spot a grain of sand moving faster than light. Nothing should be able to hide from them. "Run a full diagnostic," Kex ordered. "Check every sensor array in this sector." While the crew worked, Kex thought about the recent reports. Strange accidents had been happening across Council space. Ships arriving at ports with no memory of the final part of their journey. Communication. Arrays going offline for minutes at a time. Small things that made no sense when looked at alone. "Admiral," Voss called out, his voice tight with worry. "The sensors are working perfectly. But look at this." The display zoomed in on empty space near the edge of their patrol zone. To most eyes, it looked like nothing. But Kex had been watching space for 50 years. He could see the tiny distortions, the way light bent just slightly wrong in one small area. "There's something there," he said quietly. Before anyone could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. Reality split like fabric, and something emerged that made every being on the bridge step back in shock. Not it was a ship, but unlike anything in the Council's vast databases. The hull was dark metal that seemed to drink in starlight. Strange blue lines ran along its surface, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ship was not large by Council standards, perhaps the size of a destroyer, but it moved with impossible grace. "How did it get past our sensors?" Voss whispered. The strange ship hung in space for a moment, as if studying the massive Council warship. Then it began to move, accelerating at speeds that should have turned any crew inside into paste. The Council's best ships could barely match a tenth of that acceleration. "Red alert," Kex shouted. "All weapons to ready position." Alarm sounds filled the bridge as the crew scrambled to respond. The Star Guard's massive guns turned toward the unknown vessel, energy building in weapon chambers that could vaporize asteroids. But the strange ship was already gone. Where did it go? Kex demanded, the sensor officer, a creature with tentacles for arms, worked frantically at his station. I don't know, Admiral. It just vanished. No jump signature, no energy trail. It's like it stopped existing." Kex stared at the empty space where the ship had been. In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, nothing like this had ever happened. Ships didn't just appear and disappear. They didn't move faster than physics allowed. They didn't hide from sensors that could detect a whisper across star systems. "Send an immediate report to Council High Command," Kex ordered. "Priority 1. Tell them we've encountered something new." As the crew worked to file their report, none of them noticed the small changes happening throughout their ship. Computer systems that had worked perfectly for decades began to show tiny errors. Navigation computers recorded paths they had never taken. Communication logs showed messages that were never sent. Deep in the ship's memory banks, something new had taken root. It watched and learned, studying the Council's technology with patient intelligence. The unknown ship might have vanished, but it had left something behind. Light years away, in the dark space between stars, the mysterious vessel hung motionless. Inside its strange halls, beings that looked almost human, but not quite worked at controls that bent reality itself. They had been watching the galaxy for a long time, waiting for the right moment. The time for hiding was almost over. 3 days passed before Admiral Kex received his orders. The Council High Command wanted answers, and they wanted them fast. The Star Guard was joined by 5 more warships, each one carrying the best scientists and military minds in Council space. Dr. Nal was the first to arrive. She was a keeper, one of the ancient race that had helped found the Galactic Council. Her people lived for thousands of years and remembered when most species were still learning to make fire. If anyone could understand what they had seen, it would be her. "Show me everything," Dr. Nal said as she stepped onto the bridge. Her tall, thin form moved with the careful grace of extreme age. Her large black eyes held wisdom that came from watching civilizations rise and fall. Kex played back the recordings of the encounter. The unknown ship appearing from nowhere, moving at impossible speeds, then vanishing without a trace. Dr. Nal watched in silence, her expression growing more troubled with each replay. "This should not be possible," she said finally. "Our physics models account for every known form of travel. Jump drives, warp fields, dimensional folding. We understand them all. This ship uses none of these methods. Could it be a new species?" asked Commander Rex, captain of the warship Iron Fist. He was a warrior from the Krell Empire, a race that had never lost a battle until they joined the Council. Dr. Nal shook her head. "New species don't develop technology like this overnight. It takes millions of years to evolve the science needed for faster-than-light travel. This ship shows understanding of physics we haven't even theorized yet." While they debated, reports kept coming in from across Council space. More strange encounters were happening. A merchant convoy reported seeing identical dark ships near 3 different star systems at the same time. A mining station went dark for 6 hours, then came back online with no memory of what happened. "Admiral," Lieutenant Voss called out, "we're getting reports from the border zones. Something big is happening." The main display showed a map of Council space. Red warning lights were appearing along the outer rim, in sectors where few ships normally traveled. Each light represented another mysterious encounter. "They're testing our defenses, Commander," Rex realized. "Moving along our borders, checking our response times." Dr. Nal studied the pattern of encounters. "No, this is different. They're not testing us. They're studying us, learning how we think, how we react." As if to prove her point, new reports arrived. The unknown ships had appeared near major trade routes, but they didn't attack. They simply watched, recorded everything, then vanished. It was like being examined by something vast and intelligent. "We need to capture one," Rex declared. "I'll take my battle group, and you'll take your battle group and get yourself killed," Dr. Nal interrupted. "These beings, whatever they are so far ahead of us, technologically, that it's like comparing a sword to a star destroyer." Kex felt a chill run through him. The Keepers were never wrong about such things. Their species had survived every major galactic war by being very good at recognizing superior force. "Then what do you recommend?" he asked. Before Dr. Nal could answer, every alarm on the bridge began screaming at once. The main display shifted to show space directly ahead of them. There, hanging in the void like it had always been there, was another dark ship. This one was different from the first, larger, with more of the strange blue lines running along. Its hull. When did it arrive? Kex demanded. I don't know, Voss stammered. It wasn't there. Then it was. Our sensors show nothing. No energy signature, no mass reading. According to our instruments, there's nothing there. But they could all see it with their eyes. The ship was real solid and clearly studying them in return. It's beautiful, Dr. Nall whispered, and terrifying. The unknown vessel began to change. Panels along its hull shifted and opened, revealing technology that glowed with soft golden light. The ship seemed to be preparing for something. All ships, battle stations. Rex shouted over the communication system. Prepare to engage. Wait, Dr. Nall said urgently. Don't shoot first. If we attack them, and they really are this advanced, they might decide we're a threat to be eliminated. Kex realized she was right. If these beings could build ships that ignored the laws of physics, what could their weapons do? Could they destroy stars? Could they wipe out entire species? The unknown ship finished its transformation and began to move toward them. Not fast like the first encounter, but slowly, deliberately. It was coming to talk. Open a communication channel, Kex ordered. All frequencies. The channel opened, filled with static and strange harmonics. Then, clear as starlight, a voice spoke in perfect council standard. We need to talk. The bridge fell silent. In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, first contact with a new species always followed the same pattern. There were protocols, procedures, careful diplomatic steps that took months to complete. No unknown species had ever simply appeared and asked to talk in perfect council standard. How do they know our language? Voss whispered. Dr. Nall's ancient eyes were wide, with something between fear and fascination. They've been watching us longer than we thought. Much longer. Admiral Kex took a deep breath and activated the communication system. This is Admiral Kex of the Galactic Council vessel Starguard. Identify yourself. The response came immediately, as if the speaker had been waiting for exactly those words. Admiral Kex, we know who you are. We know about your ship, your crew, your mission. We've been watching your species and all the others in this galaxy for a very long time. The voice was strange. It sounded almost like one of the humanoid species that lived on the rim worlds, but there was something different about it. Something that suggested vast intelligence and careful control. What species are you? Kex asked. What do you want? We are human, the voice replied simply. And we want to prevent a war. Commander Rex leaned forward in his chair. Human? We've never heard of humans. What sector are you from? There was a pause, then something that might have been laughter. We're not from any sector you would recognize. We come from very far away, from a place you call the Dark Zone. Every being on the bridge felt their blood turn cold. The Dark Zone was the empty region beyond the galaxy's edge, where space was dark and cold and nothing lived. The Council had sent exploration ships there centuries ago. None had ever returned. That's impossible, Dr. Nall said. Nothing can live in the Dark Zone. There are no stars, no planets, no energy sources. Nothing you know of. The human voice corrected gently. Your understanding of physics is ... limited. You've done well for young species, but you're still children playing with simple toys. Rex bristled at the insult. Children? The Galactic Council has conquered death, built cities. Among the stars, created peace between 1,000 worlds. Yes, the human agreed. Very impressive for children. But now the playground is about to become dangerous, and we need to talk about what's coming. Admiral Kex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. What's coming? Show them. Another human voice said, speaking in the background. The space around the human ship began to change. Reality twisted and folded, and suddenly the council ships were no longer looking at empty space. Instead, they saw a vision that stretched across the void. A massive fleet of dark vessels, each one larger than anything in the council's navy. The ships were clearly human in design, with the same strange blue lines and dark metal. But there were thousands of them, arranged in formations that hurt to look at directly. Some were the size of moons. Others were so large they could have swallowed entire star systems. "This is a small part of our fleet," the first human voice explained. "We've been building in the dark for a long time, preparing for something that's been heading toward this galaxy for millions of years." "What could require such a massive fleet?" Dr. Nell asked, her voice barely a whisper. The vision changed. Now they saw something that made every being on every council ship take a step backward. It was darkness given form, a thing that ate starlight and consumed worlds. It moved between galaxies like a plague, leaving only empty void behind. "The devourers," the human said. "They've already consumed 3 galaxies. Yours is next on their path. They'll arrive in less than 50 years. Commander Rex found his voice. "Why should we believe you? Why would you help us?" "Because," the human replied, "we were once like you. Young, confident, certain we knew everything about the universe. Then the devourers came to our galaxy. They took everything, our worlds, our people, our entire civilization." The vision showed human worlds, beautiful planets filled with cities that reached toward the sky. Then came the darkness, swallowing everything until only empty space remained. "We barely escaped," the human continued. "A few million survivors out of trillions. We've spent the last 50,000 years learning, growing, preparing to fight back, but we can't do it alone." Admiral Kex stared at the massive human fleet displayed before them. "You want our help to fight these devourers?" "No," the human sighed, and there was sadness in the voice. "We want to help you survive what's coming. Your weapons, your ships, your entire military, they're not enough. The devourers have consumed civilizations that make the council look like cave dwellers. With sticks." The bridge was silent for a long moment. Finally, Dr. Nell spoke. "What do you propose?" "We teach you," the human replied. "We share our technology, our knowledge, everything we've learned in 50,000 years of preparation. In return, you help us build a defense that might actually work." "And if we refuse?" Rex asked. The human fleet vanished, leaving only empty space and one small ship. "Then in 50 years, your galaxy becomes empty void, and the devourers move on to the next one." The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted 3 days. Representatives from every major species gathered in the great chamber orbiting the galaxy's center. The debate was fierce, with voices raised in 100 different languages as the translators worked overtime. Admiral Kex stood before the assembled delegates, presenting everything they had learned from the humans. The recordings, the visions of the massive fleet, the terrible truth about the devourers approaching their galaxy. "This could be an elaborate deception," declared Senator Vex of the Roken Assembly. His species had always been suspicious of outsiders. "These humans appear from nowhere with fantastic claims and convenient offers of help. How do we know they're not planning to conquer us themselves?" High Speaker Tall of the Unified Worlds nodded in agreement. "Their technology is clearly superior to ours. If they wanted to help, why hide in the dark for so long? Why not make contact through proper diplomatic channels?" Dr. Nell stood to address the assembly. Even among the Council's eldest species, the keepers were respected for their wisdom. "Because they were afraid," she said simply. "Think about what they've told us. They're the survivors of a dead galaxy. They've watched their entire civilization get consumed by something we can't even imagine. Would you trust easily after that? But can we trust them now?" Asked Commander Rex, who had been given permission to speak for the military forces. They claimed to want to help us, but their ships could destroy our entire fleet without effort. We would be putting ourselves completely at their mercy. The debate continued for hours, but gradually the tide began to turn. More reports were coming in from across council space. The humans had revealed themselves to other fleets, always. The same message, always the same offer of help. They were not attacking, not demanding surrender, just asking for cooperation. Finally, Chancellor Kane, the elected leader of the council, called for order. She was a member of the eldest race, beings who had lived through the rise and fall of civilizations. Her word carried great weight. "The question before us is simple," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the great chamber. "Do we accept help from these humans, or do we face the devourers alone?" "What if they're lying?" "About the devourers?" Senator Vex demanded. Chancellor Kane activated the great display at the center of the chamber. It showed the galaxy's edge, where their most distant observation stations kept watch on the void beyond. 3 stations went dark this morning, she announced, all in the same sector, all at exactly the same time. The chamber fell silent. The stations were located light years apart, built to withstand any known weapon. For all 3 to be destroyed simultaneously meant something incredibly powerful was out there. "The humans have agreed to provide proof," Chancellor Kane continued. "They're sending one of their scout ships to the edge of our galaxy. It will record whatever destroyed our stations and transmit the data back to us." 2 days later, the data arrived. The Council's greatest scientists studied the recordings in stunned silence. The images showed something that defied description, a wave of absolute darkness that consumed everything in its path. Stars, planets, space itself seemed to disappear into the void. Dr. Now was the first to speak after reviewing the data. "This is real," she said, her ancient voice heavy with acceptance. The humans were telling the truth. These devourers are coming, and they're worse than anything we imagined. With the evidence before them, the Council's vote was unanimous. They would accept the humans' offer of help. The first human ship to dock at a council station was smaller than expected, carrying only a dozen crew members. But when they emerged from their vessel, it was clear they were something extraordinary. They looked almost like some of the humanoid species in council space, but there was something different about them. They moved with confidence that spoke of vast experience. Their eyes held depths that suggested they had seen things beyond imagination. Most striking of all, they showed no fear of the alien beings surrounding them. Captain Reed was their leader, a tall woman with graying hair and scars that told stories of battles fought in the dark between galaxies. She met with Admiral Kex in the station's main conference room. "We'll start with basic upgrades to your ships," she explained, showing holographic displays of technology that seemed like magic. Better shields, faster engines, weapons that can actually hurt the devourers. But the real work will take time. "How much time?" Kex asked. "Years?" Reed replied honestly. "Maybe decades. We need to rebuild your entire understanding of physics, upgrade every ship in your fleet, and train your people to fight something that's been destroying galaxies for millions of years." She paused, looking out the window at the stars. "But it can be done. We've learned from our mistakes. This time, we're not running. This time, we fight back." Admiral Kex felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. For the first time since the humans had appeared, he believed they might actually survive what was coming. The real work was about to begin. 5 years had passed since the first human ship appeared in council space. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Admiral Kex stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Unity. It looked nothing like the old council vessels. The hull was made of human-designed materials that could bend space itself. The engines used power sources. that the Council's scientists were still trying to understand. Most importantly, the weapons could actually damage the devourers. Admiral, called Lieutenant Voss, who now served as his tactical officer. The human fleet is ready to begin the test. Through the view screen, Kex could see the results of 5 years of desperate work. Thousands of ships filled the space around. Them, both human and Council vessels working together. The Council ships had been completely rebuilt using human technology, while new ships of combined design rolled out of shipyards that now operated in every major system. But it wasn't just the ships that had changed. The crews were different too. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing knowledge that had taken the humans 50,000 years to develop. Council species learned to think in ways they never had before, while humans remembered what it was like to have hope for the future. Captain Reed's voice came over the communication system. Her ship, the Redemption, hung in space nearby like a dark metal cathedral. All ships report ready, Admiral. Beginning the final test. A section of empty space suddenly filled with artificial darkness. The humans had built a machine that could simulate the Devourers' attack patterns, creating a small version of the consuming void that had destroyed 3 galaxies. All ships, attack formation. Kex ordered. The combined fleet moved with precision that would have been impossible years ago. Council ships that had once moved in straight lines now danced through space like living things. Human vessels that had fought alone for millennia now worked as part of a greater whole. The weapons fired together, beams of energy that tore through dimensions, missiles that could chase targets across star systems, and defensive fields that bent reality itself. The artificial darkness fought back, trying to consume everything in its path. For a moment, it looked like the test would fail. The simulated devourer pressed forward, eating through their defenses like they were made of paper. Several ships were forced to retreat as the void reached for them. Then something changed. The combined fleet found its rhythm, and suddenly they were fighting as one. Human experience guided Council innovation, while alien creativity found solutions the humans had never considered. The artificial darkness began to shrink, pushed back by weapons and tactics that neither species could have developed alone. Target destroyed, reported Commander Rex from his new battleship. The old warrior had taken to human combat methods like he was born for them. All ships report minimal damage. A cheer went up across the fleet. It was the first time anyone had successfully defeated even a simulation of the Devourers. They had proved it could be done, but Captain Reed's voice brought them back to reality. That was just a tiny piece of what's coming. The real Devourers are 1,000,000 times stronger, and there are thousands of them. Dr. now serving as chief science officer on the Unity, studied the test results. But we heard it, she said with satisfaction. For the first time in galactic history, someone has figured out how to fight back against the darkness. The question is whether it will be enough, Reed replied. Our scouts report the main Devourer fleet will arrive in less than 10 years. We need every ship, every weapon, every innovation we can manage before then. Admiral Kex looked out at the combined fleet. Ships from 100 different species, redesigned with human technology and armed with weapons that could crack reality. Itself, it was the greatest military force ever assembled in galactic history. It might not be enough. What's our current strength? He asked. Dr. Now consulted her reports. 50,000 capital ships, 200,000 smaller vessels, and defensive installations around every major world. We've turned the entire galaxy into a fortress. The humans brought 3 million survivors from their dead galaxy. Kex mused. Now we have trillions of beings working together. Maybe that's our real advantage. Captain Reed's image appeared on the main screen. The Devourers destroyed my people because we fought alone, each world trying to save itself. But you have something we never had, unity across an entire galaxy. Every species, every world, standing together. Will it be enough? Kex asked the question that haunted all their dreams. Reed was quiet for a moment. Ask me in 10 years, she said finally, when the real test begins. In the dark between galaxies, something vast and hungry felt the distant taste of resistance. The devourers had consumed 3 galaxies without opposition. This 4th one promised to be different. 4. The first time in millions of years, they were curious. The war for the galaxy was about to begin. Asterisk.